Okay, Charles, shall we start, Shaykh?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's start. Is this just open Q&A or people ask questions?
I think the idea was open Q&A, Shaykh, but if you want to start with maybe a very small, brief reminder, just while we allow more participants to join, then we can take questions after that.
Okay, that's okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. I mentioned the other day, one of the things that we could do is make abundant dua or supplication, and that dua or supplication is the weapon of the believer. Dua is something. Dua huwa mukhul ibadah, as the Prophet ﷺ said. The dua is the essence or the core of ibadah. And when we make dua, actually what we're doing, spiritually, physically even, what we're doing is submitting our whole being to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're saying that, there is no might, there is no power in this universe, inside this universe, except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? We are giving everything. We're giving up everything because we don't have any power. We don't have any might. We don't have any ability to do anything without the permission of God Almighty. Yeah. And so the reason why the Prophet said the act of dua or making dua is the mukhul ibadah, is the essence of ibadah, is because we are actualizing true ubudiyah or servitude to God Almighty. True servitude. Now, why do we ask people for certain things? Because we are in a place of need, yeah, and they are in a place of providing that need, yeah. So we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who provides everything. So every human being turns to God Almighty, whether they want to admit it or not. Even the atheists, they will, in certain portions of their life, certain period of their life, they will turn to God, as Allah says in the Quran. When afflictions and trials and tribulation in the ocean comes towards them, they'll raise their hands, they will raise their heads towards the skies, meaning God Almighty. So dua, supplication, is the essence of ibadah, because we are demonstrating, manifesting complete ubudiyah, true ubudiyah or servitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So during this month, however we can, whether we are sitting down or lying down or working, waiting for the bus, whatever, we try and make supplication. We try and make sincere dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. And there are certain etiquettes of dua, as you all probably know already, by the way, a reminder that we don't need to be in wudu to make dua. We don't need to face the qibla, although it's probably better to face the qibla. It's probably better to have be in wudu, but you don't have to. You can make dua in any state. You can make dua in any state. And you start your dua with thana upon Allah. You praise, you do hamd, you praise God Almighty. Then you send salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ. Then you make dua for the Muslims, the Ummah, and then you make dua for yourselves. And then you end with sending salutations upon, and you send praises upon God first, and then you send salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, and then you end. These are the basic etiquettes or the parameters of dua, inshallah. So a brief kind of reminder about dua, inshallah. Obviously, your questions don't need to be relating to dua. It could be anything, inshallah. But I thought I'd just remind everyone about the importance of dua, inshallah.
Thank you, Shaykh. So there was a question that popped up on the Q&A tab, but I had to log out and log back in, so I think I lost it. But it was basically suggesting along the lines of the shaitan is locked up during this period. Why is it that we're still able to sin?
Okay, that's a good question, and again, that question, if you don't mind me saying, implies a number of things. One of the main things that implies, as far as I understand it, is the shaitan outside of the month of Ramadan. It is the shaitan that makes us do bad things, and we don't have any autonomy as human beings. It implies, I might be wrong, but it implies to me at least that we don't have, as human beings, we don't have any autonomy. That is the shaitan that makes us do stuff. Well, that's not correct. That's not accurate, and that's not correct from the Islamic perspective. We have a qarin. We have within ourselves a devil or shayateen that whispers. Yeah. We have the devils that whisper inside our hearts and our mind. The devil cannot make us do anything that we don't want to, or we're not inclined towards. This is very, very important. We are not robots in that sense that the devils have controlled power over us, and they are the ones who make us do bad stuff, right? And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people who suffer from certain illnesses, other things, they assume that, you know, some family members, they assume that it is the devil that's making them do stuff. No, devil has the only thing that devil can do is inspire or whisper. الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس, the one who whispers inside the hearts and minds of men. But the devil cannot force, devil cannot make us do anything that we are not inclined towards. Yeah, the whisper is very powerful, definitely, it can be very, very powerful. And it depends on certain states that we are in, then we can either do good or do bad. So yes, the shayateen are locked up, but because of our own kind of inclinations, our own habits and inclinations, then, you know, if we were in a certain habit or certain pattern of living, then we'll continue to do those things, even though the shaitans are locked up. And some scholars, they mentioned that is the big devil that's locked up, his soldiers are not locked up. Yeah, so that's one of the ways of interpreting it. Yeah. So if the shaitan is locked up, you know, then why do you say, okay, what is the benefit of shaitan being locked up? How can I benefit from this? So what is the benefit of shaitan being locked up? It's the hadith where the Prophet said that when the month of Ramadan comes, the gates of heaven are wide open, the gates of fire are closed shut, and the shayateen are chained up. This is a kind of motivation for us, given by the Prophet. It's a motivation for us. Yes, you know, and it's actually quite true that even though people who may not attend the mosques, but in the month of Ramadan, there are many people who attend the mosque, many people who become more spiritual. So in that sense, you can see perhaps that it's the shayateen, they're not up to no good as much as before, right? So it gives us motivation that, you know, yes, the shayateen are they're locked up, meaning they probably have less influence upon us, so we are able to do the good deeds that we do, inshallah. So that gives us motivation, it gives us hope, and gives us a learning that, you know, it is us that even though shaitan may not be locked up, it is us that who have the ultimate control upon our own lives. We have full autonomy, we have full control. Yeah. Yes, we may become ill, and the whisper will be there, but we have full autonomy and full control, inshallah.
Sheikh, so there's a question there. I was wondering if a child, male or female, had hit puberty, are they required to keep all the fast? They're still quite young. What is your stance on this?
Yep. So if they have reached the age of puberty, and obviously depending on the actual individual boy and girl, then they should try and fast. They should fast. If they're young, if they're 12, 13, 14, they should be encouraged to fast. If they fall sick and ill while they're fasting, obviously they should break the fast. Yeah. But if they're above the age of puberty in Islam, they should be encouraged to fast, inshallah. Yeah. Because that's the limit. That's the bare minimum. It's not our age of puberty or our kind of adulthood in Islam does not start at the age of 18 or 16. It's a few years lesser than that. Yeah. Is it okay to open up fast watching the TV on Islam channel, or does the TV reduce you? I think a lot of people do. They keep the one of the Muslim channels open and on, so they can listen to the adhan. It's not a problem. It's not haram. It's not a problem. If you're watching Islam channel or another Iqra TV or another TV1, BMTV, so many channels out there, alhamdulillah. Then it shouldn't be a problem, inshallah. Obviously, that should not distract you from your family members being together and breaking fast and eating the iftar. But it's not a problem, inshallah. If for example, you're using that to, listen to the adhan or listen to a reminder as a family, by a scholar, that is fine, inshallah. That's fine.
So there's a question there, Sheikh. I know you'll do a speech on zakat, but a quick question. Should I split my zakat in daily charity, or should I send this as a lump sum?
You can do either. You can pay zakat in advance, and you give something daily, or but when you come to your zakat due date, you have to calculate your zakat, and if your zakat amount was more, you have to make that up, basically, if you compensate it. You are allowed to give. You are allowed to give it every day, every month. You are allowed to pay it in advance. So that's not a problem. Some scholars, they mention that you are allowed to pay zakat 2 years in advance. So I can pay my zakat today for the next 2 years. But every year, what would I have to do? Every year, my zakat due date, my zakat anniversary day, I have to calculate my zakat and see at that date what my own, in terms of my wealth, what I own. And if I paid less than what I should have, then I have to compensate, basically. But we'll go into that in the zakah workshop.
And another question saying, what are the best prayers to recite to control anger whilst fasting?
I mean, there's so many du'as that we can mention. The Prophet said, la taghdab, to the companion. Do not get angry, right? So one of the most famous one in the month of Ramadan is that, say inni sa'im, I am fasting. When you get angry, or when you think you want to debate someone or do this or do that, if you mind yourself, I am fasting. Say inni sa'im. Yeah. And the other general du'as you can make, that Allah, even in English, you can make dua in English. See, ideally we should always make prophetic du'as that are masnoon or ma'thur, that are taken from authentic hadith, ideally. But dua can be made in any language and any words that you want to. So whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever language you feel comfortable with, and sometimes you having more focus and concentration while you are making your dua with your own words, it might be better than just repeating some Arabic words that you don't understand. That makes sense. Obviously, there are certain du'as that we should memorize in Arabic, right? Because we need it in our salah and whatnot. But generally, du'a, right? If it makes you more focused and concentrate more while you are making dua in another language that you are proficient in, that you are able to relate, and you can actually have a conversation with God, That would be much better than just making random dua that you don't understand. Yeah, I remember when I went to Hajj years ago, there was a group of people, and one person had a book. About 30, 40 people lined up. They're doing tawaf. They're doing tawaf, and there's a leader among the herd, among the group, and that person had a book, and he was basically reading some Arabic du'as, and people were following behind. Right? I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying that's haram. I'm saying is that okay? While you're there, yes, there are certain du'as you should make in salah. You should learn, memorize in Arabic. But while you're there, God wants you to communicate with Him. Not just there, but anywhere. God wants you to communicate with Him. This formalistic way of doing things is not something that the Prophet wanted us to do. So yes, we may not have memorized many du'as, but if you want to make general du'a about you and things that you desire and whatnot, you can make dua in any language you want, right? That's not a problem.
So Sheikh, I'm sure you've answered this a couple of times before, but just to tag on to that. So should we pray Qiyamul Layl, Taraweeh and Jamaat, and how many should we read in lockdown? And just to add on to that as well, something I was going to ask about Eid prayer.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So if it wasn't for lockdown, normally people would pray Taraweeh at the mosques, either 8 rakats, or most mosques they do 20 rakats. Yeah. So there are different opinions among the scholars. There's no defined kind of like that you have to do 8 rakats or you have to do 20 rakats. You could do as many rakats as you want. The main thing is the quality, not the quantity. Although there are some narration that mention that Prophet prayed 8 rakats, Taraweeh or Qiyamul Layl, and some narration mentioned 20 rakats. But the point is that it's about the quality. You probably can pray 4 rakats, probably pray 4 rakats with concentration and focus and reverence of God, right? And you'll get the rewards, but you may pray, as someone might pray 20 rakats or 30 rakats, just following the formulas and motions, right? So it's important to have the quality. So when we're in lockdown, again, it doesn't matter how many rakats. You can pray 8 rakats, that's fine. You can pray 20 rakats, that's fine, right? You can pray 30 rakats. Some opinion mentioned 30 rakats plus, the free with it, 3 rakats. The main thing is about you having focus and concentration. So Taraweeh or Qiyamul Layl is the same thing. Qiyamul Layl means the night prayer. Taraweeh is the night prayer. And then you have Tahajjud, right? Again, they're all really, Qiyamul Layl and Tahajjud, so what's the difference? They're all really the same terminologies, really. But in the month of Ramadan, now we have Taraweeh, which are prayed the mosque, and then you pray Qiyamul Layl or Tahajjud at the after. So while you were locked down, what you could do, you can pray with your family on your own, Taraweeh, first 8 rakats, 4 rakats, 15 rakats, 20 rakats, and then you can have a nap and then wake up again to pray Qiyamul Layl or Tahajjud. Yeah, which is all perfectly fine. You could do that on your own, or you could do it with your family members. That's not a problem, inshallah. In terms of Eid Salah, again, if the lockdown continues and the government advice is that it should be a lockdown, then the mosque will be closed. And if we don't need to pray Eid because of the lockdown, there's an excuse. Some scholars would mention or would say that in every locality there should be some performance. So three people maintaining the social distancing should pray because it's a communal obligation. Yeah, it's a communal obligation. But again, if there's a lockdown, then inshallah Allah will forgive and we won't need to observe Eid, and which is sad. Even we're not going for Taraweeh and we're praying Eid. It's not easy on the soul. It's not easy. But as I mentioned before, that by us not going to the mosque like this, we are obeying God. We are obeying God. Yeah. How should zakah be paid on land if it is being used for the purpose of business? Good question. A lot of people, they have um, land back in their ancestral home. Now, it depends on the intention. So why do you have that? Why did you purchase that plot of land? Some people buy land because it's for their own benefit. Yeah. Some people buy land because to buy and sell. Yeah. Some people might buy land to rent it out to others so they can harvest, whatever they want. So zakah, will be due depending on the intention a person has. So if I bought a piece of land, a plot of land, for as an investment, like to buy and sell. So I buy now, in 2 years' time, it's going to increase. I'm going to sell it to make a profit. Then you pay zakah on the market value of the entire value of the land at your zakah due date. Yeah. So you might buy that plot of land. You might have bought it for £10,000 today. 3 years down the line, with the intention to sell, 3 years down the line, it's going to, now it's about 20k. So you pay zakah on the 20k at your zakah due date. Yeah. So I think that if you meant for business, that's how you pay zakah. If the land was bought for, use, family use, and whatnot, personal use, then there's no zakah on it, right? If you bought the land, you're using it and you're growing crops, but you're also selling those crops, in the markets and whatnot, the fruits of it, then there is zakah on it. Yeah, there is zakah on it. So and that can be discussed later, inshallah. So scholars mentioned that if you manually irrigated a certain percentage, if you don't irrigate it, right, then there's a certain percentage you have to pay, right? So any agricultural land, there is zakah on it. Meaning that if you buy land to grow crops to sell, there is zakah on it. Yeah. Can you give? Is that the question? Can you give advice on how we can earn sadaqah jariyah from home? We are unable to invite people to open fast and gain the gift. Sadaqah jariyah at home, so many ways. Giving charity, for example, teaching people, teaching your kids, facilitating other people to teach, helping the mosque to pay the debts off, for example. So yeah, so many ways. That's how you can earn the rewards. Sponsoring an orphan, sponsoring a Hibs orphan, for example. Establishing a mosque in another country. Giving sadaqah like that. Helping people of knowledge to facilitate learning and teaching. There's so many of those different ways. What acts invalidate our fast besides the obvious food and drink? So what other things commonly break our fast? Food and drink, sexual intercourse during the day, obviously, any sexual act that will, that gets a person aroused and liquid comes out, then obviously that invalidates the fast. Swearing and lying, hopefully you will not break the fast, but you should avoid it. According to Ibn Hazm and other scholars, that even backbiting and lying and break the fast. Yeah, lying and cheating and backbiting people break the fast, according to Ibn Hazm. Majority of scholars say no, but we should avoid it anyway. Yeah, should avoid it anyway. Can you give some advice to the youngsters who are listening to music, watching music and series? Subhanallah. Ramadan. Look, if I'm going to say now, it's haram to watch movies and it's haram to play games. The youngsters will not listen. Yeah, so I'm going to say it. Right? The youngsters will not listen. Right? What I would say is that if you're listening, youngsters, right, is that look at what is important to you in life. Yeah. I'm not saying not to have fun. Have fun. Right? I'm not saying not to play video games. Yeah. Right? Have fun. It's not a problem. but also give time to salah, give time to the Quran, give time to your mosque, give time to do good things. Yeah. Islam does not say that you should not have fun, you should not chill out, you should not chillax. It doesn't say that. It says that yes, chill, yeah, have fun, but at the same time worship God. Yeah. You can worship God, you can be a Muslim and have a lot of fun, right? You can be a Muslim and have a lot of fun with friends and families and others, right? So, but during the month of Ramadan, try and utilize your time, in watching good stuff. Watch the Umar series, for example. Yeah, watch about programs that will teach you about Islam. Watch those stuff, inshallah, right? Video games, again, I'm not saying not to watch it, not to play, sorry, but with moderation. Play, but also spend your time in reading books, spend your time in with your family members, spend your time in nourishing your brain, inshallah. Yeah.
Thank you, Shaykh. I had a question, slightly abstract actually, but it's just I'm reading the Quran from the beginning in English actually, just to get a grasp of the meaning. And it struck me that it talks about sort of almost extremes of people. So people who were completely devout, and then keep people who were sort of almost tyrannical, and as what I would call myself a sort of moderate Muslim, I guess, whatever that means. There's no sort of there's no one to relate to, apart from obviously Prophet ﷺ, but he's not a normal person as we would see it. So it seems to be that there's no sort of middle class, middle ground. I just wanted to see if you could comment on that.
That's a really good question. I think everyone feels like that. To be honest, it's not just you or me or I think most people, everyone I know, they feel like that because when they read the Quran, read the stories of the companions and others, how great they were, and how can we reach that level? We know ourselves. How can we reach that level, right? Obviously, we don't want to reach that level of evilness as mentioned in the Quran, but I'm talking about people, in terms of the greatness, and how do we kind of strike the balance? Yeah. Look, the number one is that as human beings, we have the ability to do so many things. We can actually become like the companions. We can. There are people who are very, very pious, right? We can become like the companions where they were pure people, but they were not angels. They were pure people, but they were not angels. Yeah. So we can become like them. Allah says in the Quran that لقد كان في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة. That you have indeed in the Messenger of Allah the best example. Now, God would not have said, take the Prophet as an example if we as human beings were not able to kind of take some of the characteristics of the Prophet. We cannot be like him because he's the most perfect creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we take some of the good, some of it, yeah, because we can only achieve some of the goodness of the way. We can't achieve the complete goodness of our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he was the best of creation. We can never be like him, right? But we aspire to be like him or some of his characteristics. If we, I'll be happy if I can have 1% of the characteristics of the Prophet, right? Because that's how perfect a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. So the way we should look at it is that we look at the bare minimum what we need to do from the Islamic perspective, yeah, and we always aspire to be like the Prophet, aspire to be like the companion, right? So having high aspiration and lofty aspirations is something good. That's what the Prophet is the emblem, if you like, yeah, that we should all aspire to be like. So at the other end, second is that God has given us clear boundaries. Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. That the halal is clear and the haram is clear. So we avoid, to the best of our ability, the haram. Yeah. And obviously between that, there are spectrum, there are degrees, and we always aspire to do more and more and more and more. And know that, we cannot be like angels. Even the companions were not like that. Once Hanzala and others, they went back to the family members and they thought that, they thought about the dunya, and they began to play with the children, and they came out and said, Hanzala has become a munafiq, right? And they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, this is what happened. And the Prophet said, look, like, you cannot, if you were the way you are with me, if you were like that all the time, right? If you were like that all the time, the angels will come and salam you, right? So meaning that, you will not be like that all the time. You will not be like that all the time. So there's a place for everything. There's a place for everything. So try and emulate the Prophet ﷺ to the best of your ability, but know that the Prophet ﷺ was perfect. We cannot be like the Prophet ﷺ in terms of perfection, but we can emulate some of the characteristics of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And then God has given us the boundaries, the clear-cut boundaries. Inshallah. If someone couldn't fast for a legitimate reason, then makes up for the fast of Ramadan, does he have to pay some money as well? If someone it was ill and legitimately could not fast, right? Then they don't have to pay any compensation. They only make up the fast. They only make up the fast. They don't have to pay the compensation. No.
Sheikh, there's a follow-up question there. If I have an indefinite illness and cannot fulfill it after Ramadan, can I pay the money back home where the currency is less?
Good question. So, yeah, someone who might have acute illness, they can't fast. So what they do, they have to pay. They have to try and pay fidya. The question is, if I'm living in the UK, can I pay in the currency or the level or that level in a place like Pakistan or India, Bangladesh or Somalia or Africa, whatever? Yeah. My opinion is that no. So if how much would it take to feed a poor person twice a day in this country, a decent meal, right? I would say probably about £10. Yeah. You can stretch it to £5. You can get down to £5, yeah, every day, right? With the cost of rice and flour and whatnot, right? So that's how much you give. £5 minimum. I would say minimum in the UK, £5, right? £10 will be ideal, but £5 minimum. And £5 in another country will obviously, they'll have more, because otherwise you'll be paying less. The Prophet that I'm in his time, they didn't obviously. The other question is about should you give your sadaqah in other countries? That's another whole discussion, yeah. But when it comes to the Prophet the companions, they gave the amount they gave in terms of fidya, ransom money or whatever, is according to their context, not another person's context. So while we're living in the UK, so if you can't fast, you need to feed a tongue twist, poor person, then you should pay in the context that you are living in, i.e. London or Manchester, anywhere in the UK, yeah. And roughly, as I would say, it's about £5 minimum per day, right? Ideally £10, but £5 minimum per day. I mean, imagine, a person in this country, can you survive on £5 per day? Most people can, I think, yeah, right? Because if you add up, if you have rice or flour, or, chicken, meat, and whatnot, even now meat chicken, you know, they double the price because of the lockdown. So you probably be more. So you have to judge, but I would say the bare minimum is £5. Yeah. So even though in other country it'll be more, but you have to calculate it in your own context. Yeah.
We'll just wait for anything else to come through on the chat, Shaykh. Otherwise, we may head towards sort of wrapping up. Just while we're waiting, again, I'd like to give participants a reminder that there'll be a small animation after the session displaying the donation appeal details. So please donate generously where possible. And another reminder that there will be adhan and a small dua just before iftar. A Ramadan reflections talk at 10 o'clock, and the resumption of Shaykh Mudaffir's Quran recitation at 10:45. So do please attend if you can. Okay, Shaykh, would you like to give dua and close?
Pardon?
Would you like to make dua and close the session?
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, the beneficial, good questions. Alhamdulillah. So we'll end it here, inshallah. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah, Shaykh. Assalamu alaikum.